Be indifferent to pain and pleasure. I am a Frenchman by birth and domicile, and since about 10 years I have been practicing yoga. After 10 years of work, are you anywhere near your goal? A little near, maybe. It is hard work, you know. The self is near and the way to it is easy. All you need doing is doing nothing. Yet I found my sadhana very difficult. Your sadhana is to be. The doing happens. Just be watchful. Where's the difficulty in remembering that you are? You are all the time. The sense of being is there all the time, no doubt. But the field of attention is often overrun by all sorts of mental events, emotions, images, ideas. The pure sense of being is usually crowded out. What is your procedure for clearing the mind of the unnecessary? What are your means, your tools for the purification of the mind? Basically, man is afraid. He is afraid of himself most. I feel like I am a man who is carrying a bomb that is going to explode. He cannot defuse it, he cannot throw it away. He is terribly frightened and is searching frantically for a solution which he cannot find. To me, liberation is getting rid of this bomb. I do not know much about the bomb. I only know that it comes from early childhood. I feel like the frightened child protesting passionately against not being loved. The child is craving for love, and because he does not get it, he is afraid and angry. Sometimes I feel like killing somebody or myself. This desire is so strong that I am constantly afraid, and I do not know how to get free from fear. You see, there is a difference between a Hindu mind and a European mind. The Hindu mind is comparatively simple. The European mind is a much more complex being. The Hindu is basically sattvic. He does not understand the European restlessness, his tireless pursuit of what he thinks needs to be done, his greater general knowledge. His reasoning capacity is so great that he will reason himself out of all reason. His self-assertiveness is due to his reliance on logic. But thinking, reasoning, is the mind's normal state. The mind just cannot stop working. It may be the habitual state, but it need not be the normal state. A normal state cannot be painful, while a habit often leads to chronic pain. If it is not the natural or the normal state of mind, then how to stop it? There must be a way to quieten the mind. How often I tell myself, enough, please stop, enough of this endless chatter of sentences repeated round and round. But my mind would not stop. I feel that one can stop it for a while, but not for long. Even the so-called spiritual people use tricks to keep their mind quiet. They repeat formulas, they sing, pray, breathe forcibly or gently, shake, rotate, concentrate, meditate, chase trances, cultivate virtues, working all the time, in order to cease working, cease chasing, cease moving. Were it not so tragic, it would be ridiculous. The mind exists in two states, as water and as honey. The water vibrates at the least disturbance, while the honey, however disturbed, returns quickly to immobility. By its very nature, the mind is restless. It can perhaps be made quiet, but it is not quiet by itself. You may have a chronic fever and shiver all the time. It is desires and fears that make the mind restless. Free from all negative emotions, it is quiet. You cannot protect the child from negative emotions. As soon as it is born, it learns pain and fear. Hunger is a cruel master and teaches dependence and hate. The child loves the mother because she feeds it and hates her because she is late with the food. Our unconscious mind is full of conflicts which overflow into the conscious. We live on a volcano. We are always in danger. I agree that the company of people whose mind is peaceful has a very soothing effect, but as soon as I am away from them, the old trouble starts. That is why I come periodically to India, to seek the company of my guru. You think you are coming and going, passing through various states and moods. I see things as they are, momentary events presenting themselves to me in rapid succession, deriving their being from me, yet definitely neither me nor mine. Among phenomena, I am not one nor subject to any. I am independent so simply and totally that your mind accustomed to opposition and denial cannot grasp it. I mean literally what I say. I do not need, oppose, or deny, because it is clear to me that I cannot be the opposite or denial of anything. I am just beyond, in a different dimension altogether. Do not look for me in identification with or opposition to something. I am where desire and fear are not. Now, what is your experience? Do you also feel that you stand totally aloof from all transient things? Yes, I do, occasionally. But at once a sense of danger sets in. I feel isolated outside all relationship with others. You see, here lies the difference in our mentalities. With the Hindu, the emotion follows the thought. Give a Hindu an idea, and his emotions are roused. But the Westerner, it is the opposite. Give him an emotion, and he will produce an idea. Your ideas are very attractive, intellectually, but emotionally I do not respond. Set your intellect aside. Don't use it in these matters. Of what use is an advice which I cannot carry out? These are all ideas, and you want me to respond feelingly to ideas? For without feelings, there can be no action. Why do you talk of action? Are you acting, ever? Some unknown power acts, and you imagine that you are acting. You are merely watching what happens, without being able to influence it in any way. Why is there such a tremendous resistance in me against accepting that I just can do nothing? But what can you do? You are like a patient under anesthetics on whom a surgeon performs an operation. When you wake up, you find the operation over. Can you say you have done something? But it is me who has chosen to submit to an operation. Certainly not. It is your illness on one side and the pressure of your physician and family on the other that have made you decide. You have no choice, only the illusion of it. Yet I feel I am not as helpless as you make me appear. I feel I can do everything I can think of, only I do not know how. It is not the power I lack, but the knowledge. Not knowing the means is admittedly as bad as not having the power. But let us drop the subject for the moment. After all, it is not important why we feel helpless, as long as we see clearly that for the time being, we are helpless. I am now 74 years old, and yet I feel that I am an infant. I feel clearly that in spite of all the changes, I am a child. My guru told me that child, which is you even now, is your real self, Swarupa. Go back to that state of pure being, where the I am is still in its purity before it got contaminated with this I am or that I am. Your burden is of false self-identifications. Abandon them all. My guru told me, trust me. I tell you, you are divine. Take it as the absolute truth. Your joy is divine. Your suffering is divine too. All comes from God. Remember it always. You are God. Your will alone is done. I did believe him, and soon realized how wonderfully true and accurate were his words. I did not condition my mind by thinking, I am God, I am wonderful, I am beyond. I simply followed his instruction, which was to focus the mind on pure being, I am, and stay in it. I used to sit for hours together with nothing but the I am in my mind, and soon peace and joy and a deep, all-embracing love became my normal state. And it all disappeared. Myself, my guru, the life I lived, the world around me. Only peace remained, an unfathomable silence. It all looks very simple and easy, but it is just not so. Sometimes the wonderful state of joyful peace dawns on me, and I look and wonder how easily it comes and how intimate it seems, how totally my own. Where was the need to strive so hard for a state so near at hand? This time surely it has come to stay. Yet how soon it dissolves and leaves me wondering, was it a taste of reality or another aberration? If it was reality, why did it go? Maybe some unique experience is needed to fix me for good in the new state, and until the crucial experience comes, the game of hide and seek must continue. Your expectation of something unique and dramatic, of some wonderful explosion, is merely hindering and delaying your self-realization. You are not to expect an explosion, for the explosion has already happened. At the moment when you were born, when you realized yourself as being, knowing, feeling, there is only one mistake you are making. You take the inner for the outer, and the outer for the inner. What is in you, you take to be outside you, and what is outside, you take to be in you. The mind and feelings are external, but you take them to be intimate. You believe the world to be objective, while it is entirely a projection of your psyche. That is the basic confusion, and no new explosion will set it right. You have to think yourself out of it. There is no other way. How am I to think myself out when my thoughts come and go as they like? Their endless chatter distracts and exhausts me. Watch your thoughts as you watch the street traffic. People come and go. You register without response. It may not be easy in the beginning, but with some practice you will find that your mind can function on many levels at the same time, and you can be aware of them all. It is only when you have a vested interest in any particular level that your attention gets caught in it, and you black out on other levels. Even then the work on the blacked out levels goes on, outside the field of consciousness. Do not struggle with your memories and thoughts. Try only to include in your field of attention the other, more important question, like, who am I? How did I happen to be born? Whence this universe around me? What is real and what is momentary? No memory will persist if you lose interest in it. It is the emotional link that perpetuates the bondage. You are always seeking pleasure, avoiding pain, always after happiness and peace. Don't you see that it is your very search for happiness that makes you feel miserable? Try the other way, indifferent to pain and pleasure, neither asking nor refusing. Give all your attention to the level on which I am is timelessly present. Soon you will realize that peace and happiness are in your very nature, and it is only seeking them through some particular channels that disturbs. Avoid the disturbance, that is all. To seek there is no need. You would not seek what you already have. You yourself are God, the supreme reality. To begin with, trust me, trust the teacher. It enables you to make the first step, and then your trust is justified by your own experience. In every walk of life, initial trust is essential. Without it, little can be done. Every undertaking is an act of faith. Even your daily bread you eat on trust. By remembering what I told you, you will achieve everything. I am telling you again, you are the all-pervading, all-transcending reality. Behave accordingly. Think, feel, and act in harmony with the whole, and the actual experience of what I say will dawn upon you in no time. No effort is needed. Have faith and act on it. Please see that I want nothing from you. It is in your own interest that I speak, because above all you love yourself. You want yourself secure and happy. Don't be ashamed of it. Don't deny it. It is natural and good to love oneself. Only you should know what exactly you do love. It is not the body that you love. It is life, perceiving, feeling, thinking, doing, loving, striving, creating. It is that life you love, which is you, which is all. Realize it in its totality beyond all the visions and limitations, and all your desires will merge in it, for the greater contains the smaller. Therefore find yourself, for in finding that you find all. Everybody is glad to be, but few know the fullness of it. You come to know by dwelling in your mind on I am, my know, my love, with the will of reaching the deepest meaning of these words. Can I think I am God? Don't identify yourself with an idea. If you mean by God the unknown, then merely say, I do not know what I am. If you know God as you know yourself, you need not say it. Best is the simple feeling, I am. Dwell on it patiently. Here patience is wisdom. Don't think of failure. There can be no failure in this undertaking. My thoughts will not let me. Pay no attention. Don't fight them. Just do nothing about them. Let them be, whatever they are. Your very fighting gives them life. Just disregard. Look through. Remember to remember what happens. Happens because I am. All reminds you that you are. Take full advantage of the fact that to experience, you must be. You need not stop thinking. Just cease being interested. It is disinterestedness that liberates. Don't hold on, that is all. The world is made of rings. The hooks are all yours. Make straight your hooks and nothing can hold you. Give up your addictions. There's nothing else to give up. Stop your routine of acquisitiveness, your habit of looking for results, and the freedom of the universe is yours. Be effortless. Life is effort. There are so many things to do. What needs doing, do it. Don't resist. Your balance must be dynamic, based on doing just the right thing, from moment to moment. Don't be a child unwilling to grow up. Stereotyped gestures and postures will not help you. Rely entirely on your clarity of thought, purity of motive, and integrity of action. You cannot possibly go wrong. Go beyond and leave all behind. But can anything be left for good? You want something like around-the-clock ecstasy? Ecstasies come and go, necessarily, for the human brain cannot stand the tension for a long time. A prolonged ecstasy will burn out your brain, unless it is extremely pure and subtle. In nature, nothing is at standstill. Everything pulsates, appears, and disappears. Heart, breath, digestion, sleep and waking, birth and death, everything comes and goes in waves. Rhythm, periodicity, harmonious alternation of extremes is the rule. No use rebelling against the very pattern of life. If you seek the immutable, go beyond experience. When I say remember I am all the time, I mean come back to it repeatedly. No particular thought can be mind's natural state, only silence. Not the idea of silence, but silence itself. When the mind is in its natural state, it reverts to silence spontaneously. After every experience, or rather, every experience happens against the background of silence. Now what you have learnt here becomes the seed. You may forget it, apparently, but it will live and in due season sprout and grow and bring forth flowers and fruits. All will happen by itself. You need not do anything, only don't prevent it. Being happy, making happy, this is the rhythm of love. I came from Europe a few months ago on one of my periodical visits to my guru near Calcutta. Now I'm on my way back home. I was invited by a friend to meet you, and I'm glad I came. What did you learn from your guru, and what practice did you follow? He is a venerable old man of about 80. Philosophically, he is a Vedantin, and the practice he teaches has much to do with rousing the unconscious energies of the mind and bringing the hidden obstacles and blockages into the consciousness. My personal sadhana was related to my peculiar problem of early infancy and childhood. My mother could not give me the feeling of being secure and loved, so important to a child's normal development. She was a woman not fit to be a mother, ridden with anxieties and neuroses, unsure of herself. She felt me to be a responsibility and a burden beyond her capacity to bear. She never wanted me to be born. She did not want me to grow and to develop. She wanted me back in her womb, unborn, non-existent. Any movement of life in me she resisted. Any attempt to go beyond the narrow circle of her habitual existence, she fought fiercely. As a child, I was both sensitive and affectionate. I craved for love above everything else, and love, the simple, instinctive love of a mother for her child, was denied me. The child's search for its mother became the leading motive of my life, and I never grew out of it. A happy child, a happy childhood, became an obsession with me. Pregnancy, birth, infancy interested me passionately. I became an obstetrician of some renown and contributed to the development of the method of painless childbirth. A happy child of a happy mother. That was my ideal all my life. But my mother was always there, unhappy herself, unwilling and incapable to see me happy. It manifested itself in strange ways. Whenever I was unwell, she felt better. When I was in good shape, she was down again, cursing herself and me too. As if she never forgave me my crime of having been born, she made me feel guilty about being alive. "You live because you hate me. If you love me, die," was her constant, though silent, message. And so I spent my life being offered death instead of love. Imprisoned as I was in my mother, the perennial infant, I could not develop a meaningful relation with the woman. The image of the mother would stand between, unforgiving and unforgiven. I sought solace in my work and found much, but I could not move from the pit of infancy. Finally, I turned to spiritual search, and I am on this line steadily for many years. But in a way, it is the same old search for mother's love. Call it God or Atma or Supreme Reality. Basically, I wanted to love and be loved. Unfortunately, the so-called religious people are against life and all for the mind. When faced with life's needs and urges, they begin by classifying, abstracting, and conceptualizing, and then make the classification more important than life itself. They ask to concentrate on and impersonate a concept. Instead of the spontaneous integration through love, they recommend a deliberate and laborious concentration on a formula. Whether it is God or Atma, the me or the other, it comes to the same. Something to think about, not somebody to love. It is not theories and systems that I need. There are many equally attractive or plausible. I need a stirring of the heart, a renewal of life, and not a new way of thinking. There are no new ways of thinking, but feelings can be ever fresh. When I love somebody, I meditate on him spontaneously and powerfully with warmth and vigor which my mind cannot command. Words are good for shaping feelings. Words without feelings are like clothes with no body inside, cold and limp. This mother of mine, she drained me of all my feelings. My sources have run dry. Can I find here the richness and abundance of emotions which I needed in such ample measure as a child? Where is your childhood now? And what is your future? I was born, I have grown, I shall die. You mean your body, of course, and your mind. I am not talking about your physiology and psychology. They are part of nature and are governed by nature's laws. I am talking of your search for love. Had it a beginning? Will it have an end? I cannot say. It is there, from the earliest to the last moment of my life, this yearning for love. How constant and how hopeless. In your search for love, what exactly are you searching for? Simply this, to love and to be loved. You mean a woman? Not necessarily. A friend, a teacher, a guide, as long as the feeling is bright and clear. Of course, a woman is the usual answer, but it need not be the only one. Of the two, what would you prefer, to love or to be loved? I would rather have both, but I can see that to love is greater, nobler, deeper. To be loved is sweet, but it does not make one grow. Can you love on your own, or must you be made to love? One must meet somebody lovable, of course. My mother was not only not loving, she was also not lovable. What makes a person lovable? Is it not the being loved? First you love, and then you look for reasons. It can be the other way around. You love what makes you happy, but what makes you happy? There is no rule about it. The entire subject is highly individual and unpredictable. Right. Whichever way you put it, unless you love, there is no happiness. But does love make you always happy? Is not the association of love with happiness a rather early, infantile stage? When the beloved suffers, don't you suffer too? And do you cease to love because you suffer? Must love and happiness come and go together? Is love merely the expectation of pleasure? Of course not. There can be much suffering in love. Then what is love? Is it not a state of being rather than a state of mind? Must you know that you love in order to love? Did you not love your mother unknowingly? Your craving for her love, for an opportunity to love her? Is it not the movement of love? Is not love as much of a part of you as consciousness of being? You sought the love of your mother because you loved her, but she would not let me. She could not stop you. Then why was I unhappy all my life? Because you did not go down to the very roots of your being. It is your complete ignorance of yourself that covered up your love and happiness and made you seek for what you had never lost. Love is will, the will to share your happiness with all. Being happy, making happy. This is the rhythm of love. Desires fulfilled breed more desires. I must confess I came today in a rebellious mood. I got a raw deal at the airline's office. When faced with such situations, everything seems doubtful. Everything seems useless. This is a very useful mood. Doubting all, refusing all, unwilling to learn through another. It is the fruit of your long sadhana. After all, one does not study forever. Enough of it. It took me nowhere. Don't say nowhere. It took you where you are. Now, it is again the child and its tantrums. I have not moved an inch from where I was. You began as a child, and you will end as a child. Whatever you have acquired in the meantime, you must lose and start at the beginning. But the child kicks. When it's unhappy or denied anything, it kicks. Let it kick. Just look at the kicking. And if you are too afraid of the society to kick convincingly, look at that too. I know it is painful business. But there is no remedy, except one. The search for remedies must cease. If you are angry or in pain, separate yourself from anger and pain and watch them. Externalization is the first step to liberation. Step away and look. The physical events will go on happening, but by themselves, they have no importance. It is the mind alone that matters. Whatever happens, you cannot kick and scream in an airline office or in a bank. Society does not allow it. If you do not like their ways or are not prepared to endure them, don't fly or carry money. Walk. And if you cannot walk, don't travel. If you deal with society, you must accept its ways, for its ways are your ways. Your needs and demands have created them. Your desires are so complex and contradictory, no wonder the society you create is also complex and contradictory. I do see and admit that the outer chaos is merely a reflection of my own inner disharmony. But what is the remedy? Don't seek remedies. Sometimes one is in a state of grace and life is happy and harmonious. But such a state does not last. The mood changes and all goes wrong. If you could only keep quiet, clear of memories and expectations, you would be able to discern the beautiful pattern of events. It is your restlessness that causes chaos. For full 3 hours that I spent in the airline office, I was practicing patience and forbearance. It did not speed up matters. At least, it did not slow them down, as your kicking would have surely done. You want immediate results. We do not dispense magic here. Everybody does the same mistake, refusing the means but wanting the ends. You want peace and harmony in the world, but refuse to have them in yourself. Follow my advice implicitly, and you will not be disappointed. I cannot solve your problems by mere words. You have to act on what I told you and persevere. It is not the right advice that liberates, but the action based on it just like a doctor after giving the patient an injection tells him, "Now, keep quiet, do nothing more, just keep quiet." I am telling you, you have got your injection. Now keep quiet, just keep quiet. You have nothing else to do. My guru did the same. He would tell me something and then said, "Now keep quiet. Don't go on ruminating all the time. Stop. Be silent." I can keep quiet for an hour in the morning, but the day is long and many things happen that throw me out of balance. It is easy to say, "Be silent," but to be silent when all is screaming in me and round me. Please tell me how it is done. All that needs doing can be done in peace and silence. There is no need to get upset. It is all theory which does not fit the facts. I am returning to Europe with nothing to do there. My life is completely empty. If you just try to keep quiet, all will come. The work, the strength for work, the right motive. Must you know everything beforehand? Don't be anxious about your future. Be quiet now and all will fall in place. The unexpected is bound to happen, while the anticipated may never come. Don't tell me you cannot control your nature. You need not control it. Throw it overboard. Have no nature to fight or to submit to. No experience will hurt you, provided you don't make it into a habit. Of the entire universe, you are the subtle cause. All is because you are. Grasp this point firmly and deeply and dwell on it repeatedly. To realize this is absolutely true is liberation. If I am the seed of the universe, then a rotten seed I am. By the fruit the seed is known. What is wrong with your world that you swear at it? It is full of pain. Nature is neither pleasant nor painful. It is all intelligence and beauty. Pain and pleasure are in the mind. Change your scale of values and all will change. Pleasure and pain are mere disturbances of the senses. Treat them equally, and there will be only bliss. The world is what you make it. By all means, make it happy. Only contentment can make you happy. Desires fulfilled breed more desires. Keeping away from all desires and contentment in what comes by itself is a very fruitful state, a precondition to the state of fullness. Don't distrust its apparent sterility and emptiness. Believe me, it is the satisfaction of desires that breeds misery. Freedom from desires is bliss. There are things we need. What you need will come to you if you do not ask for what you do not need. Yet only few people reach this state of complete dispassion and detachment. It is a very high state, the very threshold of liberation. I have been barren for the last 2 years, desolate and empty, and often was praying for death to come. Well, with your coming here, events have started rolling. Let things happen as they happen. They will sort themselves out nicely in the end. You need not strain towards the future. The future will come to you on its own. For some time longer you will remain sleepwalking, as you do now, bereft of meaning and assurance. But this period will end, and you will find your work both fruitful and easy. There are always moments when one feels empty and estranged. Such moments are most desirable, for it means the soul has cast its moorings and is sailing for distant places. This is detachment, when the old is over and the new has not yet come. If you are afraid, the state may be distressing, but there is really nothing to be afraid of. Remember the instruction, whatever you come across, go beyond. The Buddha's rule, to remember what needs to be remembered. But I find it so difficult to remember the right thing at the right moment. With me, forgetting seems to be the rule. It is not easy to remember when every situation brings up a storm of desires and fears. Craving born of memory is also the destroyer of memory. How am I to fight desire? There is nothing stronger. The waters of life are thundering over the rocks of objects, desirable or hateful. Remove the rocks by insight and detachment, and the same waters will flow deep and silent and swift, in greater volume and with greater power. Don't be theoretical about it. Give time to thought and consideration. If you desire to be free, neglect not the nearest step to freedom. It is like climbing a mountain. Not a step can be missed. One step less, and the summit is not reached. Body and mind are symptoms of ignorance. We were discussing one day the person, the witness, the absolute, Vyakti, Vyakta, and Avyakta. As far as I remember, you said that the absolute alone is real, and the witness is absolute only at a given point of space and time. The person is the organism, gross and subtle, illumined by the presence of the witness. I do not seem to grasp the matter clearly. Could we discuss it again? You also use the terms Mahadakash, Chidakash, and Paramakash. How are they related to person, witness, and the absolute? Mahadakash is nature, the ocean of existences, the physical space with all that can be contacted through the senses. Chidakash is the expanse of awareness, the mental space of time, perception, and cognition. Paramakash is the timeless and spaceless reality, mindless, undifferentiated, the infinite potentiality, the source and origin, the substance and the essence, both matter and consciousness, yet beyond both. It cannot be perceived but can be experienced as ever witnessing the witness, perceiving the perceiver, the origin and the end of all manifestation, the root of time and space, the prime cause in every chain of causation. What is the difference between Vyakta and Avyakta? There is no difference. It is like light and daylight. The universe is full of light which you do not see, but the same light you see as daylight, and what the daylight reveals is the Vyakti. The person is always the object, the witness is the subject, and the relation of mutual dependence is the reflection of their absolute identity. You imagine that they are distinct and separate states. They are not. They are the same consciousness at rest and in movement, each state conscious of the other. In Chit, man knows God and God knows man. In Chit, the man shapes the world and the world shapes man. Chit is the link, the bridge between extremes, the balancing and uniting factor in every experience. The totality of the perceived is what you call matter. The totality of all perceivers is what you call the universal mind, the identity of the two manifesting itself as perceptibility and perceiving, harmony and intelligence, loveliness and loving, reasserts itself eternally. The three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas, are they only in matter or also in the mind? In both, of course, because the two are not separate. It is always the absolute that is beyond the gunas. In fact, these are but points of view, ways of looking. They exist only in the mind. Beyond the mind, all distinctions cease. Is the universe a product of the senses? Just as you recreate your world on waking up, so is the universe unrolled. The mind, with its 5 organs of perception, 5 organs of action, and 5 vehicles of consciousness, appears as memory, thought, reason, and selfhood. The sciences have made much progress. We know the body and the mind much better than our ancestors. Your traditional way, describing and analyzing mind and matter, is no longer valid. But where are your scientists with their sciences? Are they not again images in your own mind? Well, here lies the basic difference. To me, they are not my own projections. They were before I was born and shall be there when I am dead. Of course, once you accept time and space as real, you will consider yourself minute and short-lived. But are they real? Do they depend on you or you on them? As body, you are in space. As mind, you are in time. But are you mere body with a mind in it? Have you ever investigated? I had neither the motive nor the method. I am suggesting both, but the actual work of insight and detachment, viveka vairagya, is yours. The only motive I can perceive is my own causeless and timeless happiness. And what is the method? Happiness is incidental. The true and effective motive is love. You see people suffer and you seek the best way of helping them. The answer is obvious. First, put yourself beyond the need of help. Be sure your attitude is of pure goodwill, free of expectation of any kind. Those who seek mere happiness may end up in sublime indifference, while love will never rest. As to method, there is only one. You must come to know yourself, both what you appear to be and what you are. Clarity and charity go together. Each needs and strengthens the other. Compassion implies the existence of an objective world full of avoidable sorrow. The world is not objective and the sorrow of it is not avoidable. Compassion is but another word for the refusal to suffer for imaginary reasons. If the reasons are imaginary, why should the suffering be inevitable? It is always the false that makes you suffer. The false desires and fears, the false values and ideas, the false relationships between people. Abandon the false, and you are free of pain. Truth makes happy. Truth liberates. The truth is that I am a mind imprisoned in a body. And this is a very unhappy truth. You are neither the body nor in the body. There is no such thing as body. You have grievously misunderstood yourself. To understand rightly, investigate. But I was born as a body, in a body, and shall die with the body as a body. This is your misconception. Inquire, investigate, doubt yourself and others. To find the truth, you must not cling to your convictions. If you are sure of the immediate, you will never reach the ultimate. Your idea that you were born and that you will die is absurd. Both logic and experience contradict it. All right, I shall not insist that I am the body. You have a point here. But here and now, as I talk to you, I am in my body, obviously. The body may not be me, but it is mine. The entire universe contributes incessantly to your existence. Hence, the entire universe is your body. In that sense, I agree. My body influences me deeply. In more than one way, my body is my destiny, my character, my moods, and the nature of my reactions. My desires and fears, inborn or acquired, they are all based on the body. A little alcohol, some drug or other, and all changes. Until the drug wears off, I become another man. All this happens because you think yourself to be the body. Realize your real self, and even drugs will have no power over you. You smoke? My body kept a few habits, which may as well continue till it dies. There is no harm in them. You eat meat? I was born among meat-eating people, and my children are eating meat. I eat very little and make no fuss. Meat-eating implies killing. Obviously, I make no claims of consistency. You think absolute consistency is possible? Prove it by example. Don't preach what you do not practice. Coming back to the idea of having been born, you are stuck with what your parents told you, all about conception, pregnancy, birth, infant, child, youngster, teenager, and so on. Now, divest yourself of the idea that you are the body with the help of the contrary idea that you are not the body. It is also an idea, no doubt. Treat it like something to be abandoned when its work is done. The idea that I am not the body gives reality to the body, when in fact there is no such thing as body. It is but a state of mind. You can have as many bodies and as diverse as you like. Just remember steadily what you want and reject the incompatibles. I am like a box within a box within a box, the outer box acting as the body and the one next to it as the indwelling soul. Abstract the outer box, and the next becomes the body, and the one next to it the soul. It is an infinite series, an endless opening of boxes. Is that last one the ultimate soul? If you have a body, you must have a soul. Here your simile of a nest of boxes applies. But here and now, through all your bodies and souls, shines awareness, the pure light of Chit. Hold on to it unswervingly. Without awareness, the body would not last a second. There is in the body a current of energy, affection, and intelligence, which guides, maintains, and energizes the body. Discover that current and stay with it. Of course, all these are manners of speaking. Words are as much a barrier as a bridge. Find the spark of life that weaves the tissues of your body and be with it. It is the only reality the body has. What happens to that spark of life after death? It is beyond time. Birth and death are but points in time. Life weaves eternally its many webs. The weaving is in time, but life itself is timeless. Whatever name and shape you give to its expressions, it is like the ocean, never changing, ever changing. All you say sounds beautifully convincing, yet my feeling of being just a person in a world strange and alien, often inimical and dangerous, does not cease. Being a person limited in space and time, how can I possibly realize myself as the opposite, a depersonalized, universalized awareness of nothing in particular? You assert yourself to be what you are not and deny yourself to be what you are. You omit the element of pure cognition, of awareness, free from all personal distortions. Unless you admit the reality of Chit, you will never know yourself. What am I to do? I do not see myself as you see me. Maybe you are right and I am wrong, but how can I cease to be what I feel I am? A prince who believes himself to be a beggar can be convinced conclusively in one way only. He must behave as a prince and see what happens. Behave as if what I say is true, and judge by what actually happens. All I ask is the little faith needed for making the first step. With experience will come confidence, and you will not need me any more. I know what you are, and I am telling you. Trust me for a while. To be here and now, I need my body and its senses. To understand, I need a mind. The body and the mind are only symptoms of ignorance, of misapprehension. Behave as if you were pure awareness, bodiless, mindless, spaceless, and timeless, beyond where and when and how. Dwell on it, think of it, learn to accept its reality. Don't oppose it and deny it all the time. Keep an open mind, at least. Yoga is bending the outer to the inner. Make your mind and body express the real which is all and beyond all. By doing, you succeed, not by arguing. Kindly allow me to come back to my first question. How does the error of being a person originate? The absolute precedes time. Awareness comes first. A bundle of memories and mental habits attracts attention. Awareness gets focalized, and a person suddenly appears. Remove the light of awareness, go to sleep or swoon away, and the person disappears. The person, Vyakti, flickers. Awareness, Vyakta, contains all space and time. The absolute, Avyakta, is. Give up all, and you gain all. What is your state at the present moment? A state of non-experiencing. In it all experience is included. Can you enter into the mind and heart of another man and share his experience? No. Such things require special training. I am like a dealer in wheat. I know little about breads and cakes. Even the taste of a wheat gruel I may not know. But about the wheat grain I know all and well. I know the source of all experience. But the innumerable particular forms experience can take, I do not know, nor do I need to know. From moment to moment, the little I need to know to live my life, I somehow happen to know. Your particular existence and my particular existence, do they both exist in the mind of Brahma? The universal is not aware of the particular. The existence as a person is a personal matter. A person exists in time and space, has name and shape, beginning and end. The universal includes all persons, and the absolute is at the root of all and beyond all. I'm not concerned with the totality, my personal consciousness and your personal consciousness. What is the link between the two? Between two dreamers, what can be the link? They may dream of each other. That is what people are doing. Everyone imagines others and seeks a link with them. The seeker is the link. There is none other. Surely there must be something common between the many points of consciousness we are. Where are the many points? In your mind. You insist that your world is independent of your mind. How can it be? Your desire to know other people's minds is due to your not knowing your own mind. First, know your own mind, and you will find that the question of other minds does not arise at all, for there are no other people. You are the common factor, the only link between the minds. Being is consciousness. I am applies to all. The supreme reality, Parabrahman, may be present in all of us, but of what use is it to us? You are like a man who says, I need a place where to keep my things, but of what use is space to me? Or, I need milk, tea, coffee, or soda, but for water I have no use. Don't you see that the supreme reality is what makes everything possible? But if you ask of what use it is to you, I must answer, none. In matters of daily life, the knower of the real has no advantage. He may be at a disadvantage, rather. Being free from greed and fear, he does not protect himself. The very idea of profit is foreign to him. He abhors accretions. His life is constant divesting oneself, sharing, giving. If there is no advantage in gaining the supreme, then why take the trouble? There is trouble only when you cling to something. When you hold on to nothing, no trouble arises. The relinquishing of the lesser is the gaining of the greater. Give up all, and you gain all. Then life becomes what it was meant to be, pure radiation from an inexhaustible source. In that light the world appears dimly like a dream. If my world is merely a dream and you are part of it, what can you do for me? If the dream is not real, having no being, how can reality affect it? While it lasts, the dream has temporary being. It is your desire to hold on to it that creates the problem. Let go. Stop imagining that the dream is yours. You seem to take for granted that there can be a dream without a dreamer, and that I identify myself with the dream of my own sweet will. But I am the dreamer, and the dream too. Who is to stop dreaming? Let the dream unroll itself to its very end. You cannot help it, but you can look at the dream as a dream. Refuse it, the stamp of reality. Here I am, sitting before you. I am dreaming, and you are watching me talking in my dream. What is the link between us? My intention to wake you up is the link. My heart wants you awake. I see you suffer in your dream, and I know that you must wake up to end your woes. When you see your dream as dream, you wake up. But in your dream itself I am not interested. Enough of me to know that you must wake up. You need not bring your dream to a definite conclusion or make it noble or happy or beautiful. All you need is to realize that you are dreaming. Stop imagining. Stop believing. See the contradictions, the incongruities, the falsehood, and the sorrow of the human state. The need to go beyond. Within the immensity of space floats a tiny atom of consciousness, and in it the entire universe is contained. There are affections in the dream which seem real and everlasting. Do they disappear on waking up? In a dream you love some and not others. On waking you find you are love itself, embracing all. Personal love, however intense and genuine, invariably binds. Love in freedom is love of all. People come and go. One loves whom one meets. One cannot love all. When you are love itself, you are beyond time and numbers. In loving one, you love all. In loving all, you love each. One and all are not exclusive. You say you are in a timeless state. Does it mean that past and future are open to you? Did you meet Vashita Muni, Rama's guru? The question is in time and about time. Again, you are asking me about the contents of a dream. Timelessness is beyond the illusion of time. It is not an extension in time. He who called himself Vashita knew Vashita. I am beyond all names and shapes. Vashita is a dream in your dream. How can I know him? You are too much concerned with past and future. It is all due to your longing to continue, to protect yourself against extinction. And as you want to continue, you want others to keep you company. Hence your concern with their survival. But what you call survival is but the survival of a dream. Death is preferable to it. There is a chance of waking up. You are aware of eternity, therefore you are not concerned with survival. It is the other way around. Freedom from all desire is eternity. All attachment implies fear, for all things are transient, and fear makes one a slave. This freedom from attachment does not come with practice. It is natural when one knows one's true being. Love does not cling. Clinging is not love. So there is no way to gain detachment. There is nothing to gain. Abandon all imaginings and know yourself as you are. Self-knowledge is detachment. All craving is due to a sense of insufficiency. When you know that you lack nothing, that all there is you and yours, desire ceases. To know myself, must I practice awareness? There is nothing to practice. To know yourself, be yourself. To be yourself, stop imagining yourself to be this or that. Just be. Let your true nature emerge. Don't disturb your mind with seeking. It will take much time if I just wait for self-realization. What have you to wait for when it is already here and now? You have only to look and see. Look at yourself, at your own being. You know that you are, and you like it. Abandon all imagining. That is all. Do not rely on time. Time is death. Who waits, dies. Life is now only. Do not talk to me about past and future. They exist only in your mind. You too will die. I am dead already. Physical death will make no difference in my case. I am timeless being. I am free of desire or fear because I do not remember the past or imagine the future. Where there are no names and shapes, how can there be desire and fear? With desirelessness comes timelessness. I am safe because what is not cannot touch what is. You feel unsafe because you imagine danger. Of course, your body as such is complex and vulnerable and needs protection, but not you. Once you realize your own unassailable being, you will be at peace. How can I find peace when the world suffers? The world suffers for very valid reasons. If you want to help the world, you must be beyond the need of help. Then all you're doing, as well as not doing, will help the world most effectively. How can non-action be of use where action is needed? Where action is needed, action happens. Man is not an actor. He is to be aware of what he is going on. His very presence is action. The window is the absence of the wall, and it gives air and light because it is empty. Be empty of all mental content, of all imagination and effort, and the very absence of obstacles will cause reality to rush in. If you really want to help a person, keep away. If you are emotionally committed to helping, you will fail to help. You may be very busy and be very pleased with your charitable nature, but not much will be done. A man is really helped when he is no longer in need of help. All else is just futility. There is not enough time to sit and wait for help to happen. One must do something. By all means, do. But what you can do is limited. The self alone is unlimited. Give limitlessly of yourself. All else you can give in small measures only. You alone are immeasurable. To help is your very nature. Even when you eat and drink, you help your body. For yourself, you need nothing. You are pure giving, beginningless, endless, inexhaustible. When you see sorrow and suffering, be with it. Do not rush into activity. Neither learning nor action can really help. Be with sorrow and lay bare its roots. Helping to understand is real help. My death is nearing. Your body is short of time, not you. Time and space are in the mind only. You are not bound. Just understand yourself. That itself is eternity. Consciousness arising. World arises. When an ordinary man dies, what happens to him? According to his belief, it happens. As life before death is but imagination, so is life after. The dream continues. And what about the Jnani? The Jnani does not die because he was never born. He appears so to others, but not to himself. In himself he is free of things, physical and mental. Still, you must know the state of the man who died, at least from your own past lives. Until I met my guru, I knew so many things. Now I know nothing, for all knowledge is in dream only and not valid. I know myself, and I find no life nor death in me, only pure being, not being this or that, but just being. But the moment the mind, drawing on its stock of memories, begins to imagine, it fills the space with objects and time with events. As I do not know even this birth, how can I know past births? It is the mind that itself in movement sees everything moving, and having created time, worries about the past and the future. All the universe is cradled in consciousness, Maha-tattva, which arises where there is perfect order and harmony, Maha-sattva. As all waves are in the ocean, so are all things physical and mental in awareness. Hence awareness itself is all important, not the content of it. Deepen and broaden your awareness of yourself and all the blessings will flow. You need not seek anything. All will come to you most naturally and effortlessly. The 5 senses and the 4 functions of the mind, memory, thought, understanding, and selfhood. The 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether. The 2 aspects of creation, matter and spirit. All are contained in awareness. Yet you must believe in having lived before. The scriptures say so, but I know nothing about it. I know myself as I am. As I appeared or will appear is not within my experience. It is not that I do not remember. In fact, there is nothing to remember. Reincarnation implies a reincarnating self. There is no such thing. The bundle of memories and hopes called the I imagines itself existing everlastingly and creates time to accommodate its false eternity. To be, I need no past or future. All experience is born of imagination. I do not imagine, so no birth or death happens to me. Only those who think themselves born can think themselves reborn. You are accusing me of having been born. I plead not guilty. All exist in awareness, and awareness neither dies nor is reborn. It is the changeless reality itself. All the universe of experience is born with the body and dies with the body. It has its beginning and end in awareness. But awareness knows no beginning nor end. If you think it out carefully and brood over it for a long time, you will come to see the light of awareness in all its clarity, and the world will fade out of your vision. It is like looking at a burning incense stick. You see the stick and the smoke first. When you notice the fiery point, you realize that it has the power to consume mountains of sticks and fill the universe with smoke. Timelessly the self actualizes itself without exhausting its infinite possibilities. In the incense stick simile, the stick is the body and the smoke is the mind. As long as the mind is busy with its contortions, it does not perceive its own source. The Guru comes and turns your attention to the spark within. By its very nature, the mind is outward turned. It always tends to seek for the source of things among the things themselves. To be told to look for the source within is, in a way, the beginning of a new life. Awareness takes the place of consciousness. In consciousness, there is the I, who is conscious while awareness is undivided. Awareness is aware of itself. The I am is a thought, while awareness is not a thought. There is no I am aware in awareness. Consciousness is an attribute, while awareness is not. One can be aware of being conscious, but not conscious of awareness. God is the totality of consciousness, but awareness is beyond all, being as well as not being. I had started with the question about the condition of a man after death. When his body is destroyed, what happens to his consciousness? Does he carry his senses of seeing, hearing, etc. along with him, or does he leave them behind? And if he loses his senses, what becomes to his consciousness? Senses are mere modes of perception. As the grosser modes disappear, finer states of consciousness emerge. Is there no transition to awareness after death? There can be no transition from consciousness to awareness, for awareness is not a form of consciousness. Consciousness can only become more subtle and refined, and that is what happens after death. As the various vehicles of man die off, the modes of consciousness induced by them also fade away, until only unconsciousness remains. Look at yourself talking of unconsciousness as something that comes and goes. Who is there to be conscious of unconsciousness? As long as the window is open, there is sunlight in the room. With the window shut, the sun remains, but does it see the darkness in the room? Is there anything like darkness to the sun? There is no such thing as unconsciousness, for unconsciousness is not experienceable. We infer unconsciousness when there is a lapse in memory or communication. If I stop reacting, you will say that I am unconscious. In reality, I may be most acutely conscious, only unable to communicate or remember. I am asking a simple question. There are about 4 billion people in the world, and they are all bound to die. What will be their condition after death? Not physically, but psychologically. Will their consciousness continue? And if it does, in what form? Do not tell me that I am not asking the right question, or that you do not know the answer, or that in your world my question is meaningless. The moment you start talking about your world and my world is different and incompatible, you build a wall between us. Either we live in one world, or your experience is of no use to us. Of course we live in one world, only I see it as it is, while you don't. You see yourself in the world, while I see the world in myself. To you, you get born and die, while to me the world appears and disappears. Our world is real, but your view of it is not. There is no wall between us except the one built by you. There is nothing wrong with the senses. It is your imagination that misleads you. It covers up the world as it is, with what you imagine it to be. Something existing independently of you and yet closely following your inherited or acquired patterns. There is a deep contradiction in your attitude, which you do not see and which is the cause of your sorrow. You cling to the idea that you were born into a world of pain and sorrow. I know that the world is a child of love, having its beginning, growth, and fulfillment in love. But I am beyond love even. If you have created the world out of love, why is it so full of pain? You are right, from the body's point of view. But you are not the body. You are the immensity and infinity of consciousness. Don't assume what is not true, and you will see things as I see them. Pain and pleasure, good and bad, right and wrong. These are relative terms and must not be taken absolutely. They are limited and temporary. In the Buddhist tradition, it is stated that a nirvani, an enlightened Buddha, has the freedom of the universe. He can know and experience for himself all that exists. He can command, interfere with nature, with the chain of causation, change the sequence of events, even undo the past. The world is still with him, but he is free in it. What you describe is God. Of course, where there is a universe, there will also be its counterpart, which is God. But I am beyond both. There was a kingdom in search of a king. They found the right man and made him king. In no way had he changed. He was merely given the title, the rights, and the duties of a king. His nature was not affected, only his actions. Similarly, with the enlightened man, the content of his consciousness undergoes a radical transformation. But he is not misled. He knows the changeless. The changeless cannot be conscious. Consciousness is always of change. The changeless leaves no trace in consciousness. Yes and no. The paper is not the writing, yet it carries the writing. The ink is not the message, nor is the reader's mind the message. But they all make the message possible. Does consciousness come down from reality, or is it an attribute of matter? Consciousness as such is the subtle counterpart of matter. Just as inertia, tamas, and energy, rajas, are attributes of matter, so does harmony, sattva, manifest itself as consciousness. You may consider it in a way as a form of very subtle energy. Whatever matter organizes itself into a stable organism, consciousness appears spontaneously. With the destruction of the organism, consciousness disappears. Then what survives? That of which matter and consciousness are but aspects, which is neither born nor dies. If it is beyond matter and consciousness, how can it be experienced? It can be known by its effects on both. Look for it in beauty and in bliss. But you will understand neither body nor consciousness unless you go beyond both. Please tell us squarely, are you conscious or unconscious? The enlightened jnani is neither, but in his enlightenment, jnana, all is contained. Awareness contains every experience, but he who is aware is beyond every experience. He is beyond awareness itself. There is the background of experience, call it matter. There is the experiencer, call it mind. What makes the bridge between the two? The very gap between is the bridge. That which at one end looks like matter, and at the other is mind, is in itself the bridge. Don't separate reality into mind and body, and there will be no need of bridges. Consciousness arises, the world arises. When you consider the wisdom and the beauty of the world, you call it God. Know the source of it all, which is in yourself, and you will find all your questions answered. The seer and the seen, are they one or two? There is only seeing. Both the seer and the seen are contained in it. Don't create differences where there are none. I began with a question about the man who died. You said that his experiences will shape themselves according to his expectations and beliefs. Before you were born, you expected to live according to a plan, which you yourself had laid down. Your own will was the backbone of your destiny. Surely karma interfered. Karma shapes the circumstances. The attitudes are your own. Ultimately, your character shapes your life, and you alone can shape your character. How does one shape one's character? By seeing it as it is, and being sincerely sorry. This integral seeing feeling can work miracles. It is like casting a bronze image. Metal alone or fire alone will not do it, nor will the mold be of any use. You have to melt down the metal in the heat of the fire and cast it in the mold. Beyond mind, there is no suffering. I see you sitting in your son's house waiting for lunch to be served, and I wonder whether the content of your consciousness is similar to mine, or partly different, or totally different. Are you hungry and thirsty as I am, waiting rather impatiently for the meals to be served? Or are you in an altogether different state of mind? There is not much difference on the surface, but very much of it in depth. You know yourself only through the senses and the mind. You take yourself to be what they suggest. Having no direct knowledge of yourself, you have mere ideas, all mediocre, second-hand by hearsay. Whatever you think you are, you take it to be true. The habit of imagining yourself perceivable and describable is very strong with you. I see as you see, hear as you hear, taste as you taste, eat as you eat. I also feel thirst and hunger and expect my food to be served on time. When starved or sick, my body and mind go weak. All this I perceive quite clearly. But somehow I am not in it. I feel myself as if floating over it, aloof and detached. Even not aloof and detached. There is aloofness and detachment as there is thirst and hunger. There is also the awareness of it all in a sense of immense distance, as if the body and the mind and all that happens to them were somewhere far out on the horizon. I am like a cinema screen, clear and empty. The pictures pass over it and disappear, leaving it as clear and empty as before. In no way is the screen affected by the pictures, nor are the pictures affected by the screen. The screen intercepts and reflects the pictures. It does not shape them. It has nothing to do with the rolls of films. These are as they are, lumps of destiny, prarabdha, but not my destiny. The destinies of the people on the screen. You do not mean to say that the people in a picture have destinies. They belong to the story. The story is not theirs. And what about you? Do you shape your life, or are you shaped by it? Yes, you are right. A life story unrolls itself of which I am one of the actors. I have no being outside it, as it has no being without me. I am merely a character, not a person. The character will become a person when he begins to shape his life instead of accepting it as it comes and identifying himself with it. When I ask a question and you answer, what exactly happens? The question and the answer both appear on the screen. The lips move, the body speaks, and again the screen is clear and empty. When you say clear and empty, what do you mean? I mean free of all contents. To myself I am neither perceivable nor conceivable. There is nothing I can point out and say, this I am. You identify yourself with everything so easily. I find it impossible. The feeling I am not this or that, nor is anything mine, is so strong in me that as soon as a thing or a thought appears, there comes at once the sense, this I am not. Do you mean to say that you spend your time repeating this I am not, that I am not? Of course not. I am merely verbalizing for your sake. By the grace of my guru, I have realized once and for good that I am neither object nor subject, and I do not need to remind myself all the time. I find it hard to grasp what exactly do you mean by saying that you are neither the object nor the subject. At this very moment as we talk, am I not the object of your experience and you the subject? Look, my thumb touches my forefinger. Both touch and are touched. When my attention is on the thumb is the feeler and the forefinger is the self. Shift the focus of attention and the relationship is reversed. I find that somehow by shifting the focus of attention, I become the very thing I look at and experience the kind of consciousness it has. I become the inner witness of the thing. I call this capacity of entering other focal points of consciousness love. You may give it any name you like. Love says, I am everything. Wisdom says, I am nothing. Between the two, my life flows. since at any point of time and space I can be both the subject and the object of experience. I express it by saying that I am both and neither, and beyond both. You make all these extraordinary statements about yourself. What makes you say those things? What do you mean by saying that you are beyond space and time? You ask, and the answer comes. I watch myself. I watch the answer and see no contradiction. It is clear to me that I am telling you the truth. It is all very simple. Only you must trust me that I mean what I say, that I am quite serious. As I told you already, my guru showed me my true nature, and the true nature of the world. Having realized that I am one with and yet beyond the world, I became free from all desire and fear. I did not reason it out that I should be free. I found myself free, unexpectedly, without the least effort. This freedom from desire and fear remained with me since then. Another thing I noticed was that I do not need to make an effort. The deed follows the thought without delay and friction. I have also found that thoughts become self-fulfilling. Things would fall in place smoothly and rightly. The main change was in the mind. It became motionless and silent, responding quickly but not perpetuating the response. Spontaneity became a way of life. The real became natural, and the natural became real. And above all, infinite affection, love, dark and quiet, radiating in all directions, embracing all, making all interesting and beautiful, significant and auspicious. We are told that various yogic powers arise spontaneously in a man who has realized his own true being. What is your experience in these matters? Man's fivefold body, physical, etc., has potential powers beyond our wildest dreams. Not only is the entire universe reflected in man, but also the power to control the universe is waiting to be used by him. The wise man is not anxious to use such powers, except when the situation calls for them. He finds the abilities and skills of the human personality quite adequate for the business of daily living. Some of the powers can be developed by specialized training, but the man who flaunts such powers is still in bondage. The wise man counts nothing as his own. When at some time and place some miracle is attributed to some person, he will not establish any causal link between events and people, nor will he allow any conclusions to be drawn. All happened as it happened because it had to happen. Everything happens as it does because the universe is as it is. The universe does not seem a happy place to live in. Why is there so much suffering? Pain is physical. Suffering is mental. Beyond the mind, there is no suffering. Pain is merely a signal that the body is in danger and requires attention. Similarly, suffering warns us that the structure of memories and habits, which we call the person, vyakti, is threatened by loss or change. Pain is essential for the survival of the body, but none compels you to suffer. Suffering is due entirely to clinging or resisting. It is a sign of our unwillingness to move on, to flow with life. As a sane life is free of pain, so is a saintly life free from suffering. Nobody has suffered more than saints. Did they tell you, or do you say so on your own? The essence of saintliness is total acceptance of the present moment, harmony with things as they happen. A saint does not want things to be different from what they are. He knows that considering all factors, they are unavoidable. He is friendly with the inevitable, and therefore does not suffer. Pain, he may know, but it does not shatter him. If he can, he does the needful to restore the lost balance, or he lets things take their course. He may die. So what? What does he gain by living on, and what does he lose by dying? What was born must die. What was never born cannot die. It all depends on what he takes himself to be. Imagine you fall mortally ill. Would you not regret and resent? But I am dead already, or rather neither alive nor dead. You see my body behaving the habitual way and draw your own conclusions. You will not admit that your conclusions bind nobody but you. Do you see that the image you have of me may be altogether wrong? Your image of yourself is wrong too, but that is your problem. But you need not create problems for me and then ask me to solve them. I am neither creating problems nor solving them. Perfection, destiny of all. When asked about the means for self-realization, you invariably stress the importance of the mind dwelling on the sense I am. Where is the causal factor? Why should this particular thought result in self-realization? How does the contemplation of I am affect me? The very fact of observation alters the observer and the observed. After all, what prevents the insight into one's true nature is the weakness and obtuseness of the mind and its tendency to skip the subtle and focus on the gross only. When you follow my advice and try to keep your mind on the notion of I am only, you become fully aware of your mind and its vagaries. Awareness, being lucid harmony, sattva, in action, dissolves dullness and quietens the restlessness of the mind and gently but steadily changes its very substance. This change need not be spectacular. It may be hardly noticeable, yet it is a deep and fundamental shift from darkness to light, from inadvertence to awareness. Must it be the I am formula? Will not any other sentence do? If I concentrate on there's a table, will it not serve the same purpose? As an exercise in concentration, yes, but it will not take you beyond the idea of a table. You are not interested in tables, you want to know yourself. For this, keep steadily in the focus of consciousness the only clue you have, your certainty of being. Be with it, play with it, ponder over it, delve deeply into it, till the shell of ignorance breaks open and you emerge into the realm of reality. Is there any causal link between my focusing the I am and the breaking of the shell? The urge to find oneself is a sign that you are getting ready. The impulse always comes from within. Unless your time has come, you will have neither the desire nor the strength to go for self-inquiry wholeheartedly. Is not the grace of the Guru responsible for the desire and its fulfillment? Is not the Guru's radiant face the bait on which we are caught and pulled out of this mire of sorrow? It is the inner Guru, Sadguru, who takes you to the outer Guru, as a mother takes her child to a teacher. Trust and obey your Guru, for he is the messenger of your real self. How do I find a Guru whom I can trust? Your own heart will tell you. There is no difficulty in finding a Guru because the Guru is in search of you. The Guru is always ready. You are not ready. You have to be ready to learn, or you may meet your Guru and waste your chance by sheer inattentiveness and obstinacy. Take my example. There was nothing in me of much promise, but when I met my Guru, I listened, trusted, and obeyed. Must I not examine the teacher before I put myself entirely into his hands? By all means, examine, but what can you find out? Only as he appears to you on your own level. I shall watch whether he is consistent, whether there is harmony between his life and his teaching. You may find plenty of disharmony. So what? It proves nothing. Only motives matter. How will you know his motives? I should at least expect him to be a man of self-control who lives a righteous life. Such will you find many, and of no use to you. A Guru can show you the way back home to your real self. What has this to do with the character or temperament of the person he appears to be? Does he not clearly tell you that he is not the person? The only way you can judge is by the change in yourself when you are in his company. If you feel more at peace and happy, if you understand yourself with more than usual clarity and depth, it means you have met the right man. Take your time, but once you have made up your mind to trust him, trust him absolutely, and follow every instruction fully and faithfully. It does not matter much if you do not accept him as your guru and are satisfied with his company only. Satsang alone can also take you to your goal, provided it is unmixed and undisturbed. But once you accept somebody as your guru, listen, remember, and obey. Half-heartedness is a serious drawback and the cause of much self-created sorrow. The mistake is never the guru's. It is always the obtuseness and cussedness of the discipline that is at fault. Does not the guru then dismiss or disqualify a disciple? He would not be a guru if he did. He bides his time and waits till the disciple, chastened and sobered, comes back to him in a more receptive mood. What is the motive? Why does a guru take so much trouble? Sorrow, and the ending of sorrow. He sees people suffering in their dreams and he wants them to wake up. Love is intolerant of pain and suffering. The patience of a guru has no limits and therefore it cannot be defeated. The guru never fails. Is my first guru also my last, or do I have to pass from guru to guru? The entire universe is your guru. You learn from everything. If you are alert and intelligent, with your mind clear and your heart clean, you would learn from every passerby. It is because you are indolent or restless that your inner self manifests as the outer guru and makes you trust him and obey. Is a guru inevitable? It is like asking, is a mother inevitable? To rise in consciousness from one dimension to another, you need help. The help may not always be in the shape of a human person. It may be a subtle presence or a spark of intuition, but help must come. The inner self is watching and waiting for the son to return to his father. At the right time, he arranges everything affectionately and effectively. Where a messenger is needed or a guide, he sends the guru to do the needful. There is one thing I cannot grasp. You speak of the inner self as wise and good and beautiful and every way perfect, and of the person as mere reflection without a being of its own. On the other hand, you take so much trouble in helping the person to realize itself. If the person is so unimportant, why be so concerned with its welfare? Who cares for a shadow? You have brought in duality where there is none. There is the body and there is the self. Between them is the mind, in which the self is reflected as I am. Because of the imperfections of the mind, its crudity and restlessness, lack of discernment and insight, it takes itself to be the body, not the self. All that is needed is to purify the mind so that it can realize its identity with the self. When the mind merges in the self, the body presents no problems. It remains what it is, an instrument of cognition and action, the tool and the expression of the creative fire within. The ultimate value of the body is that it serves to discover the cosmic body, which is the universe in its entirety. As you realize yourself in manifestation, you keep on discovering that you are ever more than what you have imagined. Is there no end to self-discovery? As there is no beginning, there is no end. But what I have discovered by the grace of my guru is, I am nothing that can be pointed at. I am neither a this nor a that. This holds absolutely. Then where comes in the never-ending discovery, the endless transcending oneself into new dimensions? All this belongs to the realm of manifestation. It is in the very structure of the universe that the higher can be had only through the freedom from the lower. What is lower and what is higher? Look at it in terms of awareness. Wider and deeper consciousness is higher. All that lives works for protecting, perpetuating, and expanding consciousness. This is the world's sole meaning and purpose. It is the very essence of yoga, ever raising the level of consciousness, discovery of new dimensions with their properties, qualities, and powers. In that sense, the entire universe becomes a school of yoga, yogakshetra. Is perfection the destiny of all human beings? Of all living beings, ultimately? The possibility becomes a certainty when the notion of enlightenment appears in the mind. Once a living being has heard and understood that deliverance is within his reach, he will never forget, for it is the first message from within. It will take roots and grow, and in due course take the blessed shape of the Guru. So, all we are concerned with is the redemption of the mind? What else? The mind goes astray, the mind returns home. Even the word astray is not proper. The mind must know itself in every mood. Nothing is a mistake, unless it is repeated. Desire and fear, self-centered states. I would like to go again into the question of pleasure and pain, desire and fear. I understand fear, which is memory and anticipation of pain. It is essential for the preservation of the organism and its living pattern. Needs when felt are painful in their anticipation as full of fear. We are rightly afraid of not being able to meet our basic needs. The relief experienced when a need is met or an anxiety allayed is entirely due to the ending of pain. We may give it positive names like pleasure or joy or happiness, but essentially it is relief from pain. It is this fear of pain that holds together our social, economic, and political institutions. What puzzles me is that we derive pleasure from things and states of mind which have nothing to do with survival. On the contrary, our pleasures are usually destructive. They damage or destroy the object, the instrument, and also the subject of pleasure. Otherwise, pleasure and pursuit of pleasure would be no problem. This brings me to the core of my question. Why is pleasure destructive? Why, in spite of its destructiveness, is it wanted? I may add I do not have in mind the pleasure-pain pattern by which nature compels us to go her way. I think of the man-made pleasures, both sensory and subtle, ranging from the grossest, like overeating, to the most refined. Addiction to pleasure, at whatever cost, is so universal that there must be something significant at the root of it. Of course, not every activity of man must be utilitarian, designed to meet a need. Play, for example, is natural, and man is the most playful animal in existence. Play fulfills the need for self-discovery and self-development, but even in his play, man becomes destructive of nature, others, and himself. In short, you do not object to pleasure, but only its price in pain and sorrow. If reality itself is bliss, then pleasure in some way must be related to it. Let us not proceed by verbal logic. The bliss of reality does not exclude suffering. Besides, you know only pleasure, not the bliss of pure being. So let us examine pleasure at its own level. If you look at yourself in your moments of pleasure or pain, you will invariably find that it is not the thing in itself that is pleasant or painful, but the situation of which it is a part. Pleasure lies in the relationship between the enjoyer and the enjoyed. The essence of it is acceptance. Whatever may be the situation, if it is acceptable, it is pleasant. If it is not acceptable, it is painful. What makes it acceptable is not important. The cause may be physical or psychological or untraceable. Acceptance is the decisive factor. Obversely, suffering is due to non-acceptance. Pain is not acceptable. Why not? Did you ever try? Do try, and you will find in pain a joy which pleasure cannot yield, for the simple reason that acceptance of pain takes you much deeper than pleasure does. The personal self, by its very nature, is constantly pursuing pleasure and avoiding pain. The ending of this pattern is the ending of the self. The ending of the self with its desires and fears enables you to return to your real nature, the source of all happiness and peace. The perennial desire for pleasure is the reflection of the timeless harmony within. It is an observable fact that one becomes self-conscious only when caught in the conflict between pleasure and pain, which demands choice and decision. It is this clash between desire and fear that causes anger, which is the great destroyer of sanity in life. When pain is accepted for what it is, a lesson and a warning, and deeply looked into and heeded, the separation between pain and pleasure breaks down. Both become experience, painful when resisted, joyful when accepted. Do you advise shunning pleasure and pursuing pain? No, nor pursuing pleasure and shunning pain. Accept both as they come. Enjoy both while they last. Let them go as they must. How can I possibly enjoy pain? Physical pain calls for action. Of course, and so does mental. The bliss is in the awareness of it, in not shrinking or in any way turning away from it. All happiness comes from awareness. The more we are conscious, the deeper the joy. The acceptance of pain, non-resistance, courage, and endurance, these open deep and perennial sources of real happiness, true bliss. Why should pain be more effective than pleasure? Pleasure is readily accepted, while all the powers of the self reject pain. As the acceptance of pain is the denial of the self, and the self stands in the way of true happiness, the wholehearted acceptance of pain releases the springs of happiness. Does the acceptance of suffering act the same way? The fact of pain is easily brought within the focus of awareness. With suffering, it is not that simple. To focus suffering is not enough, for mental life as we know it is one continuous stream of suffering. To reach the deeper layers of suffering, you must go to its roots and uncover their vast underground network, where fear and desire are closely interwoven and the currents of life's energy oppose, obstruct, and destroy each other. How can I set right a tangle which is entirely below the level of my consciousness? By being with yourself, the I am. By watching yourself in daily life with alert interest, with the intention to understand rather than to judge, in full acceptance of whatever may emerge because it is there. You encourage the deep to come to the surface and enrich your life and consciousness with its captive energies. This is the great work of awareness. It removes obstacles and releases energies by understanding the nature of life and mind. Intelligence is the door to freedom, and alert attention is the mother of intelligence. One more question. Why does pleasure end in pain? Everything has a beginning and an end, and so does pleasure. Don't anticipate and don't regret, and there will be no pain. It is memory and imagination that cause suffering. Of course, pain after pleasure may be due to the misuse of the body or the mind. The body knows its measure, but the mind does not. Its appetites are numberless and limitless. Watch your mind with great diligence, for there lies your bondage and also the key to freedom. My question is not yet fully answered. Why are man's pleasures destructive? Why does he find so much pleasure in destruction? Life's concern lies in protection, perpetuation, and expansion of itself. In this it is guided by pain and pleasure. At what point do they become destructive? When the mind takes over, remembers, and anticipates, it exaggerates, it distorts, it overlooks. The past is projected into the future, and the future betrays the expectations. The organs of sensation and action are stimulated beyond capacity, and they inevitably break down. The objects of pleasure cannot yield what is expected of them and get worn out or destroyed by misuse. It results in excess of pain where pleasure was looked for. We destroy not only ourselves but others too. Naturally, selfishness is always destructive. Desire and fear both are self-centered states. Between desire and fear, anger arises. With anger, hatred. With hatred, passion for destruction. War is hatred in action, organized and equipped with all the instruments of death. Is there a way to end these horrors? When more people come to know their real nature, their influence, however subtle, will prevail and the world's emotional atmosphere will sweeten up. People follow their leaders, and when among the leaders appears some great in heart and mind, absolutely free from self-seeking, their impact will be enough to make the crudities and crimes of the present age impossible. A new golden age may come and last for a time and succumb to its own perfection. For ebb begins with the tide at its highest. Is there no such thing as permanent perfection? Yes, there is, but it includes all imperfection. It is the perfection of our self-nature which makes everything possible, perceivable, interesting. It knows no suffering, for it neither likes nor dislikes, neither accepts nor rejects. Creation and destruction are the two poles between which it weaves its ever-changing pattern. Be free from predilections and preferences, and the mind with its burden of sorrow will be no more. But I am not alone to suffer. There are others. When you go to them with your desires and fears, you merely add to their sorrows. First, be free of suffering yourself, and then only hope of helping others. You do not even need to hope. Your very existence will be the greatest help a man can give his fellow man. Live facts, not fancies. You say that whatever you see is yourself. You also admit that you see the world as we see it. Here's today's newspaper with all the horrors going on. Since the world is yourself, how can you explain such misbehavior? Which world do you have in mind? Our common world in which we live. Are you sure we live in the same world? I do not mean nature, the sea and the land, plants and animals. They are not the problem, nor the endless space, the infinite time, the inexhaustible power. Do not be misled by my eating and smoking, reading and talking. My mind is not here. My life is not here. Your world of desires and their fulfillments of fears and their escapes is definitely not my world. I do not even perceive it, except through what you tell me about it. It is your private dream world, and my only reaction to it is to ask you to stop dreaming. Surely wars and revolutions are not dreams. Sick mothers and starving children are not dreams. Wealth, ill-gotten and misused, is not a dream. What else? A dream cannot be shared, nor can the waking state. All the three states of waking, dreaming, and sleeping are subjective, personal, intimate. They all happen to and are contained within the little bubble in consciousness called I. The real world lies beyond the self. Self or no self, facts are real. Of course, facts are real. I live among them. But you live with fancies, not with facts. Facts never clash, while your life and world are full of contradictions. Contradiction is the mark of the false. The real never contradicts itself. For instance, you complain that people are abjectly poor, yet you do not share your riches with them. You mind the war next door, but you hardly give it a thought when it is in some far-off country. The shifting fortunes of your ego determine your values. I think, I want, I must, are made into absolutes. Nevertheless, the evil is real, not more real than you are. Evil is in the wrong approach to problems created by misunderstanding and misuse. It is a vicious circle. Can the circle be broken? A false circle need not be broken. It is enough to see it as it is, non-existent, but real enough to make us submit to and inflict indignities and atrocities. Insanity is universal. Sanity is rare. Yet there is hope, because the moment we perceive our insanity, we are on the way to sanity. This is the function of the guru, to make us see the madness of our daily living. Life makes you conscious, but the teacher makes you aware. Sir, you are neither the first nor the last. Since immemorial times, people were breaking into reality. Yet how little it affected our lives. The Ramas and the Krishnas, the Buddhas and the Christ have come and gone, and we are as we were, wallowing in sweat and tears. What have the great ones done, whose lives we witnessed? What have you done, sir, to alleviate the world's thrall? You alone can undo the evil you have created. Your own callous selfishness is at the root of it. Put first your own house in order, and you will see that your work is done. The men of wisdom and love who came before us did set themselves right, often at a tremendous cost. What was the outcome? A shooting star, however bright, does not make the night less dark. To judge them and their work, you must become one of them. A frog in a well knows nothing about the birds in the sky. Do you mean to say that between good and evil there is no wall? There is no wall because there is no good and no evil. In every concrete situation there is only the necessary and the unnecessary. The needful is right, the needless is wrong. Who decides? The situation decides. Every situation is a challenge which demands the right response. When the response is right, the challenge is met and the problem ceases. If the response is wrong, the challenge is not met and the problem remains unsolved. Your unsolved problems, that is what constitutes your karma. Solve them rightly and be free. You seem to drive me always back into myself. Is there no objective solution to the world's problems? The world problems were created by numberless people like you, each full of his own desires and fears. Who can free you of your past, personal and social, except yourself? And how will you do it unless you see the urgent need of your being first, free of cravings born of illusion? How can you truly help, as long as you need help yourself? In what way did the ancient sages help? In what way do you help? A few individuals profit, no doubt. Your guidance and example may mean a lot to them, but in what way do you affect humanity, the totality of life and consciousness? You say that you are the world and the world is you. What impact have you made on it? What kind of impact do you expect? Man is stupid, selfish, cruel. Man is also wise, affectionate, and kind. Why does not goodness prevail? It does, in my real world. In my world, even what you call evil is the servant of the good and therefore necessary. It is like boils and fevers that clear the body of impurities. Disease is painful, even dangerous, but if dealt with rightly, it heals. Or kills. In some cases, death is the best cure. A life may be worse than death, which is but rarely an unpleasant experience, whatever the appearances. Therefore, pity the living, never the dead. This problem of things good and evil in themselves does not exist in my world. The needful is good and the needless is evil. In your world, the pleasant is good and the painful is evil. What is necessary? To grow is necessary. To outgrow is necessary. To leave behind the good for the sake of the better is necessary. To what end? The end is in the beginning. You end where you start, in the absolute. Why all this trouble, then, to come back to where I started? Whose trouble? Which trouble? Do you pity the seed that is to grow and multiply till it becomes a mighty forest? Do you kill an infant to save him from the bother of living? What is wrong with life? Ever more life. Remove the obstacles to growing and all your personal, social, economic, and political problems will just dissolve. The universe is perfect as a whole, and the parts striving for perfection is a way of joy. Willingly sacrifice the imperfect to the perfect, and there will be no more talk about good and evil. Yet we are afraid of the better and cling to the worse. This is our stupidity, verging on insanity. What is there to be afraid of? The unknown, the not being, not knowing, not doing, the beyond. You mean to say that while you can share the manner of your achievement, you cannot share the fruits? Of course I can share the fruits, and I am doing so all the time. But mine is a silent language. Learn to listen and understand. I do not see how one can begin without conviction. Stay with me for some time, or give your mind to what I say and do, and conviction will dawn. Not everybody has the chance of meeting you. Meet your own self. Be with your own self. Listen to it. Obey it. Cherish it. Keep it in mind ceaselessly. You need no other guide. As long as your urge for truth affects your daily life, all is well with you. Live your life without hurting anybody. Harmlessness is a most powerful form of yoga. and it will take you speedily to your goal. That is what I call Nisarga Yoga, the natural yoga. It is the art of living in peace and harmony and friendliness and love. The fruit of it is happiness, uncaused and endless. Still, all this presupposes some faith. Turn within and you will come to trust yourself. In everything else, confidence comes with experience. When a man tells me that he knows something I do not know, I have the right to ask, what is it that you know that I do not know? And if he tells you that it cannot be conveyed in words, then I watch him closely and try to make out. And this is exactly what I want you to do. Be interested, give attention, until a current of mutual understanding is established. Then the sharing will be easy. As a matter of fact, all realization is only sharing. You enter a wider consciousness and share in it. Unwillingness to enter and to share is the only hindrance. I never talk of differences, for to me there are none. You do, so it is up to you to show them to me. By all means, show me the differences, for this you will have to understand me, but then you will no longer talk of differences. Understand one thing well, and you have arrived. What prevents you from knowing is not the lack of opportunity, but the lack of ability to focus in your mind on what you want to understand. If you could but keep in mind what you do not know, it would reveal to you its secrets. But if you are shallow and impatient, not earnest enough to look and wait, you are like a child crying for the moon. By itself, nothing has existence. As I listen to you, I find that it is useless to ask you questions. What of the question? You invariably turn it upon itself and bring to me the basic fact that I am living an illusion of my own making, and that reality is inexpressible in words. Words merely add to the confusion, and the only wise course is the silent search within. After all, it is the mind that creates illusion, and it is the mind that gets free of it. Words may aggravate illusion. Words may also help dispel it. There is nothing wrong in repeating the same truth again and again until it becomes reality. Mother's work is not over with the birth of the child. She feeds it day after day, year after year, until it needs her no longer. People need hearing words until facts speak to them louder than words. So we are children to be fed on words? As long as you give importance to words, you are children. All right, then be our mother. Where was the child before it was born? Was it not with the mother? Because it was already with the mother, it could be born. Surely the mother did not carry the child when she was a child herself. Potentially she was the mother. Go beyond the illusion of time. Your answer is always the same, a kind of clockwork which strikes the same hours again and again. It cannot be helped. Just like the one sun is reflected in a billion dewdrops, so is the timeless endlessly repeated. When I repeat, I am, I merely assert and reassert an ever-present fact. You get tired of my words because you do not see the living truth behind them. Contact it, and you will find the full meaning of words and of silence both. You say that the little girl is already the mother of her future child. Potentially, yes. Actually, no. The potential becomes actual by thinking. The body and its affairs exist in the mind, and the mind is consciousness in motion, and consciousness is the conditioned, saguna, aspect of the self. The unconditioned, nirguna, is another aspect, and beyond lies the abyss of the absolute, paramartha. Quite right, you have put it beautifully. But these are mere words to me. Hearing and repeating them is not enough. They must be experienced. Nothing stops you but preoccupation with the outer, which prevents you from focusing the inner. It cannot be helped. You cannot skip your sadhana. You have to turn away from the world and go within until the inner and the outer merge, and you can go beyond the conditioned, whether inner or outer. Surely the unconditioned is merely an idea in the conditioned mind. By itself it has no existence. By itself nothing has existence. Everything needs its own absence. To be is to be distinguishable, to be here and not there, to be now and not then, to be thus and not otherwise. Like water is shaped by the container, so is everything determined by conditions, gunas. As water remains water regardless of the vessels, as light remains itself regardless of the colors it brings out, so does the real remain real, regardless of the conditions in which it is reflected. Why keep the reflection only in the focus of consciousness? Why not the real itself? Consciousness itself is a reflection. How can it hold the real? To know that consciousness and its content are but reflections, changeful and transient, is the focusing of the real. The refusal to see the snake in the rope is the necessary condition for seeing the rope. Only necessary or also sufficient? One must also know that the rope exists and looks like a snake. Similarly, one must know that the real exists and is of the nature of witness consciousness. Of course it is beyond the witness, but to enter it, one must first realize the state of pure witnessing. The awareness of conditions brings one to the unconditioned. Can the unconditioned be experienced? To know the conditioned as conditioned is all that can be said about the unconditioned. Positive terms are mere hints and misleading. Can we talk of witnessing the real? How can we? We can talk only of the unreal, the illusory, the transient, the conditioned. To go beyond, we must pass through total negation of everything as having independent existence. All things depend. On what do they depend? On consciousness, and consciousness depends on the witness. And the witness depends on the real? The witness is the reflection of the real in all its purity. It depends on the condition of the mind. Where clarity and detachment predominate, the witness consciousness comes into being. It is just like saying that where the water is clear and quiet, the image of the moon appears, or like daylight that appears as sparkle in the diamond. Can there be consciousness without the witness? Without the witness, it becomes unconsciousness, just living. The witness is latent in every state of consciousness, just like light in every color. There can be no knowledge without the knower, and no knower without his witness. Not only you know, but you know that you know. If the unconditioned cannot be experienced, for all experience is conditioned, then why talk of it at all? How can there be knowledge of the conditioned without the unconditioned? There must be a source from which all this flows, a foundation on which all stands. Self-realization is primarily the knowledge of one's conditioning and the awareness that the infinite variety of conditions depends on our infinite ability to be conditioned and to give rise to variety. To the conditioned mind, the unconditioned appears as the totality as well as the absence of everything. Neither can be directly experienced, but this does not make it non-existent. Is it not a feeling? A feeling, too, is a state of mind. Just like a healthy body does not call for attention, so is the unconditioned, free from experience. Take the experience of death. The ordinary man is afraid to die because he is afraid of change. The yoni is not afraid because his mind is dead already. He does not think, I live. He knows there is life. There is no change in it and no death. Death appears to be a change in time and space. Where there is neither time nor space, how can there be death? The yoni is already dead to name and shape. How can their loss affect him? The man in the train travels from place to place, but the man off the train goes nowhere, for he is not bound for a destination. He has nowhere to go, nothing to do, nothing to become. Those who make plans will be born to carry them out. Those who make no plans need not be born. What is the purpose of pain and pleasure? Do they exist by themselves or only in the mind? Still they exist. Never mind the mind. pain and pleasure are merely symptoms, the results of wrong knowledge and wrong feeling. A result cannot have a purpose of its own. In God's economy, everything must have a purpose. Do you know God that you talk of Him so freely? What is God to you? A sound, a word on paper, an idea in the mind? By His power I am born and kept alive, and suffer and die. Are you glad? It may be my own fault that I suffer and die. I was created unto life eternal. Why eternal in the future and not in the past? What has a beginning must have an end. Only the beginningless is endless. God may be a mere concept, a working theory, a very useful concept all the same. For this it must be free of inner contradictions, which is not the case. Why not work on the theory that you are your own creation and creator? At least there will be no external God to battle with. The world is so rich and complex, how could I create it? Do you know yourself enough to know what you can do and what you cannot? You do not know your own powers. You never investigated. Begin with yourself, now. Everybody believes in God. To me, you are your own God. But if you think otherwise, think to the end. If there be God, then all is God's, and all is for the best. Welcome all that comes with a glad and thankful heart, and love all creatures. This too will take you to yourself. Only the self is real. The world is but a show, glittering and empty. It is, and yet it is not. It is there as long as I want to see it and take part in it. When I cease caring, it dissolves. It has no cause and serves no purpose. It just happens when we are absent-minded. It appears exactly as it looks, but there is no depth in it, no meaning. Only the onlooker is real. Call him self or Atma. To the self, the world is but a colorful show, which he enjoys as long as it lasts and forgets when it is over. Whatever happens on the stage makes him shudder and tear or roll with laughter, yet all the time he is aware that it is but a show. Without desire or fear, he enjoys it as it happens. The person immersed in the world has a life of many flavors. He weeps, he laughs, loves and hates, desires and fears, suffers and rejoices. The desireless and fearless Jnani. What life has he? Is he not left high and dry in his aloofness? His state is not so desolate. It tastes of the pure, uncaused, undiluted bliss. He is happy and fully aware that happiness is his very nature and that he need not do anything nor strive for anything to secure it. It follows him, more real than the body, nearer than the mind itself. You imagine that without cause there can be no happiness. To me, dependence on anything for happiness is utter misery. Pleasure and pain have causes, while my state is my own, totally uncaused, independent, unassailable. Like a play on the stage. The play was written, planned, and rehearsed. The world just sprouts into being out of nothing and returns to nothing. Is there no creator? Was not the world in the mind of Brahma before it was created? As long as you are outside my state, you will have creators, preservers, and destroyers. But once with me, you will know the self only and see yourself in all. You function, nevertheless. When you are giddy, you see the world running circles round you. Obsessed with the idea of means and end, of work and purpose, you see me apparently functioning. In reality, I only look. Whatever is done on the stage. Joy and sorrow, life and death, they are real to the man in bondage. To me, they are all in the show, as unreal as the show itself. I may perceive the world just like you, but you believe to be in it, while I see it as an iridescent drop in the vast expanse of consciousness. We are all getting old. Old age is not pleasant. All aches and pains, weakness, and the approaching end. How does a Jnani feel as an old man? How does his inner self look at his own senility? As he gets older, he grows more and more happy and peaceful. After all, he is going home. like a traveler nearing his destination and collecting his luggage. He leaves the train without regret. Surely there is a contradiction. We are told the jnani is beyond all change. His happiness neither grows nor wanes. How can he grow happier because older and in spite of physical weakness and so on? There is no contradiction. The reel of destiny is coming to its end. The mind is happy. The mist of the body existence is lifting. The burden of the body is growing less from day to day. Let us say that a jnani is ill. He has caught some flu and every joint aches and burns. What is his state of mind? Every sensation is contemplated in perfect equanimity. There is no desire for it, nor refusal of it. It is, and then he looks at it with a smile of affectionate detachment. He may be detached from his own suffering, but still it is there. It is there, but it does not matter. Whatever state I am in, I see it as a state of mind to be accepted as it is. Pain is pain. You experience it all the same. He who experiences the body experiences its pains and pleasures. I am neither the body nor the experiencer of the body. Let us say you are 25 years old. Your marriage is arranged and performed and the household duties crowd upon you. How would you feel? Just how I feel now. You keep on insisting that my inner state is molded by outer events. It is just not so. Whatever happens, I remain. At the root of my being is pure awareness, a speck of intense light. This speck, by its very nature, radiates and creates pictures in space and events in time, effortlessly and spontaneously. As long as it is merely aware, there are no problems. But when the discriminative mind comes into being and creates distinctions, pleasure and pain arise. During sleep the mind is in abeyance, and so are pain and pleasure. The process of creation continues, but no notice is taken. The mind is a form of consciousness, and consciousness is an aspect of life. Life creates everything, but the Supreme is beyond all. The Supreme is the master, and consciousness his servant. The master is in consciousness, not beyond it. In terms of consciousness, the Supreme is both creation and dissolution, concretion and abstraction, the focal and the universal. It is also neither. Words do not reach there, nor mind. The jnani seems to be a very lonely being, all by himself. He is alone, but he is all. He is not even a being. He is the beingness of all beings. Not even that. No words apply. He is what he is, the ground from which all grows. Are you not afraid to die? I shall tell you how my guru's guru died. After announcing that his end was nearing, he stopped eating without changing the routine of his daily life. On the 11th day, at prayer time, he was singing and clapping vigorously and suddenly died, just like that, between two movements, like a blown-out candle. Everybody dies as he lives. I am not afraid of death because I am not afraid of life. I live a happy life and shall die a happy death. Misery is to be born, not to die. All depends on how you look at it. There can be no evidence of your state. All I know about it is what you say. All I see is a very interesting old man. You are the interesting old man, not me. I was never born. How can I grow old? What I appear to be to you exists only in your mind. I am not concerned with it. Even as a dream, you are a most unusual dream. I am a dream that can wake you up. You will have the proof of it in your very waking up. Imagine news reaches you that I have died. Somebody tells you, you know so-and-so, he died. What would be your reaction? I would be very happy to have you back home. Really glad to see you out of this foolishness. Which foolishness? Of thinking that you were born and will die, that you are a body displaying a mind and all such nonsense. In my world, nobody is born and nobody dies. Some people go on a journey and come back. Some never leave. What difference does it make since they travel in dreamlands, each wrapped up in his own dream? Only the waking up is important. It is enough to know the I am as reality and also love. My approach is not so absolute, hence my question. Throughout the West, people are in search of something real. They turn to science, which tells them a lot about matter, a little about the mind, and nothing about the nature and purpose of consciousness. To them, reality is objective, outside the observable and describable, directly or by inference. About the subjective aspect of reality, they know nothing. It is extremely important to let them know that there is reality, and it is to be found in the freedom of consciousness from matter and its limitations and distortions. Most of the people in the world just do not know that there is reality which can be found and experienced in consciousness. It seems very important that they should hear the good news from somebody who has actually experienced. Such witnesses have always existed, and their testimony is precious. Of course, the gospel of self-realization, once heard, will never be forgotten. Like a seed left in the ground, it will wait for the right season and sprout and grow into a mighty tree.